Yeah, this video was initially planned to be much longer, but it is what it is, and here's the finale to this little leitmotif series. And yeah, let's get started.
A toodaloo, a judaflu.
In the original video, I had the leaf motif, and well, yeah, in actuality, it's probably the most prominent one in the entire franchise, besides like the main theme or whatever. Like that was the ally unit theme from FE8, and the amplifications of camaraderie in that leaf motif are obvious. The name of the track in that one may be Rival, but obviously if you know the context of where the song plays, it makes sense why there would be a leaf motif in it, because, the people who are fighting off in the Arena Pharaoh have a lot of respect for each other deep down. Those two had a longer, more dramatic pause in their leaf motif. The near defeat theme in Thracia obviously uses it as the main dramatic point in the song, though. It's pretty much the only song to do that, essentially. It's by far the most somber and dramatic renditioning, and probably the most memorable use of the leaf motif. But there's also another one in Awakening that's quite interesting. It was incorporated more melodically into that song, and obviously, if you know where that came from, it's quite a unique piece, to say the least. Next up is the Echoes motif. There are obviously a few ways to interpret the motif, but the way I tend to like to view it is like, things were very great, but actually, so it kind of says that things are supposed to be going well, but there's a little bit more dread underneath the surface, let's just say that. But yeah, either way, it's a nice motif. But yeah, moving on. Next up is the Dawn motif. It's the main motif of Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Here it is. And this motif seems to center around the character you see on screen now. I won't spoil their name, but yeah. However, as I put in my last video, you can actually sort of hear the motif in the Fire Emblem Awakening track called Monstrosity. It's a very interesting potential connection, to say the least. Yeah, here are some other little tracks that also have slowed down or slightly different renditions of the motif. Alright, so next we'll talk about the Awakening leitmotif. The Awakening motif is used a lot throughout the game, though it technically also has some roots in other games as well. The motif is also used quite a bit in Fates, but in a different context. You are the ocean's gray waves destined to seek, but it masquerades as the Awakening motif most of the time, but yeah. Awakening and Fates may seem very similar on the surface with the pair-ups and the class systems and whatnot, but if you actually know the two games, like in and out, you know that they're quite different games overall, so they have an interesting connection with the motif, to say the least. This next motif you pretty much always hear in the background of the song, the Minster motif, I call it. I'd say that motif is generally associated with general appalling ignorance towards a certain something and somewhat, but regardless, yeah, that's that. Alright, next up, Three Houses has a couple of main motifs. The first one is the dun 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 dun, and the other one is the Nabatean motif, which is associated with Rhea. The notes in that piece do bear a striking resemblance to this song. Perhaps the song of the Nabateans was passed down from Tiki's theme, or one of the Divine Dragon's themes. But regardless, Rhea is a dragon with light green hair, so it's not too unlikely that Sothis and all those Nabateans do have a direct connection to Tiki, Naga, and all the other notable divine dragons, etc. Next up is Ninian's theme from FE7, and obviously the main notes that you hear in her theme, well, you can actually hear it throughout quite a few songs in the franchise. I'll show you what I mean. Now here's another 4-note motif that is a bit more boisterous and, arrogant, I guess, in a good way. And another 4-note motif, and this is the last one of the video. And Elfin's theme from FE6 summarizes it pretty well. It's easily the most interpretive and also, probably one of the most common motifs in the entire series. You can hear a version of it pretty much everywhere. Dun-dun-dun-dun, 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 And, but Elfin's theme is the only Fire Emblem theme that where it's pretty much the main rhythm of the entire song, essentially. It does sound similar to the previous motifs I just mentioned, but the general rhythms and the key notes and, the comparison of the different notes in the motif, they're basically different ones. And as for what it means, well, not really a specific meaning to it, but it's up for interpretation a lot whenever it's used. But regardless, this is the end of the video. Throughout this series, I have not brought up Fire Emblem Engage, and I may end up doing musical references in Fire Emblem Engage in a future video or videos. But I don't know what the plan is for right now, so we'll just keep a hold out in the meantime. But plan to obviously not always make music videos for this series, so there will be other types of stuff, but